Hi, welcome to Nourishing Body and Soul, the podcast. Get ready to revitalize your mind, body, and soul. We're here to inspire women who are looking to break free from old patterns and ideas to create a life of increased confidence and improved health. Say goodbye to limiting beliefs and hello to new possibilities. So kick back, get ready to have some fun, and let's dive in. We'll uncover tools and insights that can help you build a life that's truly nourishing, body and soul. Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Victoria.
And we're glad you're here with us today.
Yes.
I really hope I'm not alone, and I'm sure I'm not in my I know better than this week. I am terrible about when I'm getting ready to go somewhere. It's like, I can fit that in. I can fit that in. And one little tiny thing, and one little more tiny thing, until I end up, instead of just leaving with a nice plenty of time to get where I'm going, I end up going, I gotta get out of here. And then I'm all rushed when I go, and I'm rushed when I get there. It's like completely unnecessarily.
Yes.
One of these days, I'm going to learn to just go, I could do that little thing, but I can do that later too, and be a grown up and just get out of here.
My dad, my dad was a pilot, and so they left when they needed to leave exactly on time. So plus he was military before that. And so he was always like, come on. For both my mom and I. And I was like, here's this. I lost something that, he was always I don't want to, sorry. I'm like, he would like clap really loud. He'd be like, Vicky, get out. Yeah. Like we were going to be like late to the show or something.
Yeah.
We were never late to the show. My brother has to be somewhere. If you're listening to this, Tom, which I know you may someday, actually, you said you might. Sorry for all the family things. My brother has to be there a half hour ahead of time.
Half hour?
Oh yeah. So like I went to church with him when I was in Utah, and their church was like at 9 something, 9 maybe, and we had to be there at 8:30.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world? The church isn't even open. Like, what are we even doing here?
My choir teacher in high school, who, I was a choir nerd. I had many classes with him. And he always said, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're dead. Yeah. There are some people that are like that. Like to be on time, you have to be early. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Like 5 minutes. Yeah. Half an hour, but
I try. I used to be late all the time. I'm not that late all the time. I'm like, come on. Like my sister will tell us to be like there an hour ahead of time
because she knows you.
Yeah, but like not that bad anymore. She can say like 15 minutes.
I'm not usually late. I'm just often rushed when I get there.
Yeah. It's like and that's I don't like that feeling either.
Me neither.
Yeah. Anyway. I know better than, but this is a story. So my birthday was this week.
Happy birthday.
Anyway, yes. And so my sister made me a dinner. Now she lives in Sun City. Do you know where Sun City is? Okay. So this is like a retirement community. It's not like
big one.
Yeah. It's not like a retirement home. Like everybody has their own house. They're big, beautiful houses. They have a golf course. They have this like lake kind of thing.
Yeah. They probably have more than one golf course, I think. But anyway.
I don't know. But anyway, and they have all these kind of activities. Okay. So I went there for dinner, which was fabulous. My sister's an amazing cook. And so anyway, we went for dinner. It was fabulous. And she lives with our cousin. And our cousin is involved in all the activities. She's the head of the drama club. There's all these kind of things. So she's throwing plays or whatever. And there's a huge dance community. So they had a Halloween dance that night. And I had just been thinking that I had not been to a dance in ages. And I love to dance. I genuinely loved it. Like I danced in college, like competitively in the Latin dance. I know little things you find out. So anyway, whatever. And so I had just been thinking like a few weeks ago, I'm never going to dance again. Where am I going to go dance? But that's what I was thinking. I'm like, where am I going to go dance? I'm not going to go dance at some club. Like the friends that were dancing friends are married, have kids, and getting knee replacements. So like that's not happening. So it was like a gift that had been handed to me. It was the best gift for my birthday. So I wasn't dressed as anything, but I was like, I'll go as a young person because you have to be
55, I think.
Yeah, you have to be 55 to live there and like 65 to own your house or something like that. There's like age limits and on the upper side that I don't hit yet. So anyway, so we go to this dance and there's like everybody's dressed up. It was super funny. It was fun. And I danced like with the girls out there, whatever. There were like 70 or 80 people there. There was one single man.
Oh gosh.
One. And so I was like, first of all, I know that we can better, that we can age beautifully, we can age gracefully, we can age, that youth is not the barometer for our attractiveness. Having said that, I was sitting there and like one of these women came up to me and she's like, oh, isn't it funny, all these old people? It must be funny to you to see all these old people. I'm like, oh, look at me being a young person. I was so excited. So anyway, it was feeling very good about myself. And the man was in high demand, as you can well imagine. There was one of him. And I mean, most of the people were couples, but there were a lot of single women. Anyway, he asked me to dance 3 times. So I was feeling myself.
So by the end, was shooting daggers at you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was like a young thing. And one of my dance moves is I go down to do the twist all the way down to my knees and back up. And I was out there and I was like, ooh, I don't know if we can actually do that. I haven't done it in a long time. I checked afterwards. I still can. But I was like,
there. Okay.
No, I was going to, but I was wearing tennis shoes because I wasn't supposed to be at some like fancy dance. Anyway, and so, but also I was like, oh, if I do that, all these women, those knee replacements and hip replacements, they're going to come over and bonk me on the head and cast me out because they know that I am too young to be there. So anyway, so that happened. So I know better. This is like a humble brag. I know better than to base my worth off my looks and my age. And I know better than to base my opinion of myself and my attractiveness on some man. I know better than that, but still, I was feeling it. I had a good Monday night. Thank you, Denise.
You were cat's meow.
What?
You were the cat's meow. The bee's knees. Don't you have to use those terms when you're that age?
Oh, the bee's knees. Yeah. My bee's knees still go down. So it's good news for everyone. So that is
moments of glory.
I'm shining.
Yeah,
I'm shining while I still can. Yeah. Anyway.
I tell you, the stories from the
I hugged this man. I hugged this man at the end of the dance, and I don't know, you would have thought like I had just like handed him the moon. I was feeling pretty good.
You didn't get mugged in the parking lot.
I know. We went out this back way. Maybe that's why.
Maybe why your sister was trying to protect you.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. Good. I was glad. Never give up on like things. Who even knows? Someday you might love to dance, and someday you might stumble into a dance with a bunch of older people.
Now you know. When you want to dance, just tell your sister, let me know when there's another one. I want to come.
I know. Well, yeah, no, totally. There's a holiday one. I'm going to start practicing my moves now. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll wait for you to report back on that later.
Okay. A few months. Well, it's going to be here before you know it.
I know. It very much will. But while we're here in this moment.
Yes.
Today we're talking about things. What can we do? And do you remember?
So what can we do?
Yeah, can you remember?
What do you mean? What can we do in life? Just what can we do?
No. Well, how did we come to this topic? Do you remember how we came to this topic?
Yes.
This is your suggestion. Why did you suggest this?
I'm so young. I can remember everything.
We asked you first.
What can we do? I do, but I cannot articulate it into words because I am so old.
Okay, well,
I'm going through menopause, and all of a sudden you ask me that, and the whole mind went blank. I don't know if that ever happens to you people.
No, it's like taking a test. It happens to everybody at virtually every stage of life.
Okay, well, that just happened.
I can remember everything until you ask me. Well, how we came to this, was that after probably one of the diet culture or nutrition myths, which are tied together, episodes. And Vic afterwards was like, it just kind of feels like hopeless sometimes.
Yeah.
It just kind of, and she said, we need to talk about.
So yeah, let me specifically, like it was like, here's a myth that you can eat well and exercise and,
That's
the best way to lose weight. That's a myth. That's, eating healthy is the best way to feel healthy and be healthy in life. That's a myth. And I was like, I felt like I had no power left.
Yeah.
There's very few. Yes, all of it's random and chance, all of it. But we can't live like that, or else our minds have not evolved to live like that. Our minds have evolved to how do we solve problems? How do we make sense of things? So that's how our minds are. So anyway, it felt like there were a lot of anything you do,
whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fatalistic.
It felt, very fatalistic. I think that was the word I used.
I don't remember that specifically. Could be. But then she said, we need to talk. She said, you talk about this often, and I think we need to talk about this in an episode of, I'm very, very big on, we always have personal power.
Yes.
Always. There's always something. She's always something.
I don't want to inundate her with a bunch of people, but I'm telling you, if you have problems, this is the woman that you want to talk to, because all of a sudden you go away and you're like, oh, well, I guess I can do that and that and that. Yeah.
We always, and I will firmly attribute this to two people, mostly Corrie ten Boom, who I've mentioned many times, and Viktor Frankl. When I was in college is when I was first introduced to both of these people and their approach to things. They're both people who were in concentration camps, which to me is the most horrendous human condition I can imagine. And both of them, the way that the things that they learned and the things that they came to while they were there. And so it really taught me that, okay, you can be, even in the worst of human conditions like that, there's still something, you still have some power. And that led me to always look at, okay, go in my own situation. It's like this, I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling powerless. I'm feeling hopeless. Okay, but what can I do? There's something I can do here. Where's my personal power? And so I'm real big on helping other people to see that when they can't, because that's, as long as we can see our personal power, there's hope, and it's like, okay, this may not fix the situation. It may take me years and years, may take me the rest of my life to handle this, to figure it out, but I'm doing something. And so there's something that I can do about this. So I'm real big on that. So I want to talk about that a little bit today, because there are a lot of things that we talk about, especially when we're talking about culture. Us in this little podcast and those of us who are here, we're not going to all by ourselves change culture. It doesn't happen that fast and that small. But so then what difference does it make if we do it? It makes a difference to us, and it makes a difference to then a little bit more and a little bit more. And the culture that we have today also was not formulated in a day or a month or a year or a decade. It doesn't happen that fast.
For centuries.
Yeah. And so culture takes a while to change. So what can we do and what does it matter? But there is something we can do, and it does matter. So we wanted to really talk about that.
Yeah.
And how to find our power.
Yeah. And one of my quotes that I absolutely love and try to live by is talking about faith. And faith doesn't necessarily mean spiritual faith, although it can also means faith in what can happen in the future. And Martin Luther King always said, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. So sometimes, we can't see the end. We can't see where it's going to lead us, but just being able to go, okay. And I'm a perfectionist. Like I've talked about that. A huge perfectionist is very hard for me to do things, lots of things, because I'm like, if that's not perfect, I can't do it. And so that is something that I try to remember always, to just take the first step. It doesn't matter if perfection, you can't see perfection at the end, just take the first step. So
Yeah. So I want to kind of break this into two areas. First, what we do, and then what we think. So if it's a task that needs doing, if life has been insane lately for whatever reason, and for example, our house has gotten completely out of control and it's just a mess, and we're thinking that we need to get this place cleaned or we can't function anymore, but we also just don't have the wherewithal to possibly, it just feels like too much. It feels too big. Then all we need to do is just start.
Yeah.
Just go, you know what? I'm giving myself permission to not do this whole thing because that's just too much, but I'm going to do something for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes.
That's good.
And
yeah.
Or
you're so surprised what you can get done in 2 minutes too. Cause like I'm like super ADD also, or ADHD, and I get overwhelmed very easily. So like something like that, like housework, I look and I go, or if, after a big meal and there's a pile of dishes, I like, oh, I don't know. That's scary. That sounds dumb, but that's my life. And just 2 minutes. I'll be like, okay, just do this for 2 minutes. Cause that's something I've heard before. And so you can get a lot done in 2 minutes.
Yeah. And often, not always, and we don't need to go into this mindset, but often if we do it for 2 minutes, like if we're looking at this ridiculous pile of dishes, going, just too tired. It's the end of the day. I just spent all this time preparing it. I just don't have it in me to clean up this mess. I'm just going to clean up 2 minutes worth of it. Then we do that 2 minutes. And often what that does is it builds a little momentum. It's like, okay, okay.
That wasn't so hard.
I got the stuff cleaned off the stove. I can get the dishwasher emptied. And then after we get the dishwasher emptied, it's like, okay, well, I can load the dishwasher. And so it often leads to other things, and it builds momentum. This law of physics that a body in motion tends to stay in motion, a body at rest tends to stay in rest, doesn't just apply to physical things. This is a mental and emotional thing too. So when we but
you don't have to think like beyond the 2 minutes. You can just go 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And do whatever you can.
Yep.
And then go.
Okay, I did something, and now I'm going to go crouch on the couch.
Yeah.
I did something. And that 2 minutes that we do, then even if that's all that we do, it's still that, okay, I did something.
Yeah.
And sometimes that 2 minutes can feel like a big freaking deal. Like, okay, that was hard, but I did it.
Yeah.
Yay me.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with that some feeling of positivity instead of just exhaustion.
Can I do a lesson in baseball?
Yeah.
Okay. So baseball, as you know, if you don't, I will tell you, if you're hitting, especially now the pitching's so good, it's so amazing. Like if you're hitting like 270, like 27% of the time you get a hit, you're considered a really good hitter. It used to be 30%. Yeah. Too much, too high. Like almost no one does that anymore. Even like the best hitters. So almost no one does that because the pitching's so good. So if you feel like things have gotten harder, they have. So if you can hit like 27% of the time, you're right. So what do? So I love my Giants and San Francisco Giants. And they had a manager who was like, look, we prepare this way, we prepare that way, we prepare as much as we can. And then when we get into the box, like maybe he's going to throw strikes that we can't hit. Maybe he's an unhittable pitcher. Maybe that ball that we hit doesn't find a hole in the grass and, like somebody catches it. So like all these number of things, but there's nothing we can do about standing up at the batter's box. Nothing we can do about that. Can't control the umpire behind us calling strikes and balls. None of that. But all we can do is prepare. So that was the last year. And this year too, they're not doing great. Just say they're not doing great. If you love the Giants and you're like cursing me right now because, we didn't do great. Doesn't matter. They prepared really hard. So last year, there's a thing called National Novel Writing Month. And it's been around for like 20 years, I think. I just saw. And it is in November. And you write 1,667 words a day. And at the end of the month, you've written 50,000 words, which sounds unbelievably hard. So I decided I was like paying attention to what the Giants manager was saying. And I thought, I think that can apply. Like, I can't control what happens to this novel. I can't control publishers, or I can't control any of that, but I can control writing. And there's also a quote from him that I read that was something like, I can't find the exact quote, but it's something like, the worst finished novel is infinitely better than the best masterpiece. Unfinished masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfinished part is a lot better. Yeah, like matters. Yeah, that part matters, but the unfinished part. So I was like, okay, I can't control even what I think about it. So I decided I was going to write a novel, and I wrote 1,667 words last year in November, every single day. And I had let go of the outcome. Like, I had let go of what I was even going to think about it, which was the hardest thing for me. And all of a sudden I wrote this novel that was like completely bonkers off of what I was supposed to be writing. And it sort of just wrote itself.
And it was delightful.
It was different than anything I'd ever written, ever. But it was super, super fun to do that. And so did I finish I finished the first draft. Did I finish it after that? No, because lots of things in life came along. So, but the experience of doing it was great. And guess what?
November's coming again.
And I'm going to take that novel and apply the same thing. And I ended up at the end, at the end, I had written 53,000 words. And so I thought, I'm going to continue that in December, where I wrote then another 30,000 words. And I did that in January, where I continued, and I got another 30,000 words. So I ended up with way over what even a good novel is supposed to be. Maybe not like War and Peace, but let's be real. So anyway, yeah.
No, you have lots you can edit out and still have good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. The whole thing of me telling you all of that is that taking the first step is the first part. And if it's scary, then don't do very much of a step. Take a little half step, take the 1/3 of a cha-cha-cha, that kind of step. Yeah. Just do the cha. Yeah. Just that kind of step. Cha. It's a cha step.
Yeah.
I just coined a new term. Use it with your friends. You're welcome.
Well, I'll be out here going 1, 2, cha.
Yeah. 1, 2, I'm getting ready. Cha. Okay, I did it.
We're good.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
One of my wonderful daughters-in-law uses this phrase often, and she, in so many situations, she always says, "Do what you can do."
Yeah.
And whatever that is that you can do, do that. And then I would add on to that, and then take all the rest of this stuff that you were thinking you should be able to do and put that on a shelf for the time being.
And everything that everything in the past that you suddenly now are be like, oh, I should have done this, or you cannot control that.
Yep.
There is no way to control, and there's no way to control a lot of things. I think the batter's box metaphor is a really good one, because you can't control what other people are doing. You can't control your children sometimes. You can't control your spouse sometimes. And sometimes.
A lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of times. There's.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Another episode.
I was about to say a San Francisco thing, and then I just thought better of it.
But yeah, but there's always something that we can do.
Yes.
And if we focus on that and do
well, now I feel like I have to say the San Francisco thing.
And then let go of the others.
She's scared. She doesn't want me to.
What are you going to say?
I just was saying, I mean, in San Francisco, there's a little bit of wildness in all cities, probably. And you know what? Probably neighbors in here, all of it. You can't control. I mean, they're handcuffs.
No, but even that doesn't always control things.
No, well, eventually, if you just leave them there. I have no prior experience with this, by the way. None. I do not know how well it can control. No.
Sure.
I don't. I swear. But I've heard of people who can control their spouse. That was jokes.
But
no, it's not jokes that I have heard it, but jokes that you can really control things. I'm just saying, if you want to control things, there are ways that are not great. So don't do realize it's easier to let go.
Yeah.
Than to control.
We also need, if we're feeling the need to control things, that's also something to explore.
Yeah.
Because really, yes, we're interconnected. We need to be, we're hardwired for connection, as Brene Brown says, but we're responsible for ourselves.
Yeah.
Period. End of sentence.
Yeah.
Ourself.
Yeah.
And so that's what we can do something about. And even then, we're not going to quote unquote control ourselves the way that we hope all the time. If we were, I would never be rushing out the door.
Yeah.
I would never be staying up very much later than I should be, like I have issues with, as we know. So it's like the control thing is that's a slippery slope, but there's always something that we can do.
Yes.
If we feel like, oh, I can't, I want to eat so much better, I know that I should, but we're not going to go from where we're eating right now to this whatever ideal way that we think we should be eating. We're not going to do that in one shot. And so what can we do? Well, I can maybe eat better breakfasts, or eat better lunches, or eat better, or it's very easy to break it up into smaller. You know what? I'm just gonna be more mindful about my snacking. That's all.
Today.
I'm not gonna worry about anything else.
Yeah.
For right now.
You're not starting the whole big diet. Like that's a lot of things. Like you, and then like the night before, it's the Last Supper, and you eat as much crap as you possibly can. And then you're like, wake up the next day and you're like, I'm going to exercise a half hour a day. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to, and like, you have this whole plan. I've done that where I've written out this entire plan, and it turns out it was more fun to write out the plan than to actually do it. So, but it's funny too, because I'm struggling with some health issues, and I was talking to my therapist about it because that's what I do. And she was like, you know what you can do? The one thing you can do is take yourself kind of out of it a little bit and go, what is this teaching me? What is it? She's like, it was so funny because she said, turn into the researcher, turn into the scientist. So, it's so funny. I didn't even tell her that we were scientists, mad scientists. But she's like, turn into the scientist and say, okay, what is this teaching me? I cannot, there's a bunch of things that are out of my control. My health really is basically out of my control for the most part. And she was like, what are you learning from that? Because that's all this life is, according to her. And, according to like all kinds of faiths, not just this very specific faith, all kinds of faith that this life is for us to learn. And sometimes, like I'm thinking about people's kids, like sometimes people's kids do like crazy things when they get adulty and all that. And all you can do is go, okay, but what is that teaching me? What am I? Because ultimately it comes down to our own selves and what can we do? And what is this world teaching? What is this trial teaching me? And so that felt very empowering to me, because I was like, yep, you know what? I can do that. Like research, check. And analysis, check. And
that slides right into the next thing, which is, even if there's not something that we can do, our thinking, the way that we think. How are we thinking? One of the things that Viktor Frankl says in Man's Search for Meaning is that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. And so we may not have control of a situation. There may actually not be anything we can do. But the one thing that we can do is we can reframe our thinking. We can change our thinking. And that's one great way to do it. It's just kind of stepping out and going, this particular situation is, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to eat better, but I'm not seeing the results. I'm trying to do all this stuff is going on, and it's not seeming like anything I'm doing is making a difference. But what can I learn from it? There's always something to learn. There's always, our thinking is something that we can always, no one can take that from us. If it can't be taken from you in a Nazi concentration camp, it can't be taken from you anywhere. And another thing that he says in the same book is, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way.
That's good.
So in our little neighborhood here, where we talk about things like these nutrition myths and diet culture that we're not going to change on our own, but what can I change? I can change my response to it. I can change my habits. I can change my thinking. I can notice the input that I'm receiving and decide if it's valid input for me or if it's something that's like, no, that's not working for me, and put that away. I can control my thinking. I can control my attitude. And so there's always, and this doesn't just apply in this, our, nourishing our body and soul area. This applies in
interpersonal
relationships, in family relationships, in with health issues, with monetary issues, with anything we may be facing. There's something we can do, either actually physically, something that we can do that can start that ball rolling, or there's something that we can do in the way that we're looking at it, the perspective that we have, the way that we're
the scientists,
right?
The like global, like the global view.
Step back and take that macro view, not the micro view. And in all of this, I think the very big bottom line thing is to give ourselves as much grace as we need.
Yeah.
Because boy,
for real, like seriously, guys, give yourself some grace. This is a hard life that we are in. Not always, but sometimes. And even if our own selves are good, sometimes we can get overwhelmed with the world around us that seems in total chaos. Give yourself some grace. You got out of bed, or maybe you didn't get out of bed, but you thought about getting out of bed. That's enough sometimes. Give yourself some grace with that.
Yeah, there's plenty. And hopefully have people in your life that will also give you grace. But I'm telling you right now, most likely you're going to be the one that you need to give the most grace to, because honestly, it matters much less if other people are giving us grace, if we're still holding on to things, than if we give ourselves grace. So we're all in this mess together. So it's okay. And there's always something we can do. So let's find that and do that.
Yes.
And
step into the batter box.
Strike out. Okay.
That's fine. Like 75% of the time that happens. And you're still good. You're still getting a multi-million-dollar contract.
I have actually used that baseball analogy many times when I've been dealing with people who are like, well, but I just feel like basically, I feel like I'm failing so much of the time. It's like, honey, do you know what the batting average of the very good professional athletes are? It's even lower than I thought, because last time it was in the 300s. It's like a third of the time, and now it's down to like a quarter of the time. And we're not talking a quarter of the time getting a home run. We're talking a quarter of the time getting a hit, even. And these are the best baseball players in the world.
Not getting a home run.
So it's just, if that's good enough for them, we can take something from that. So all right, use this to nourish your body and your soul this week.
Have a good week, everybody. See you later.
Hey, it's Tracy. If this was helpful and you'd like more, follow me on Instagram at tlastel.nourishingbodyandsoul, or on Facebook or YouTube at Nourishing Body and Soul, or you can find my website at nourishingbodysoul.com.
Okay, so this is embarrassing because I've always made fun of people who did this, but
like and subscribe.
Turns out it's important.
Well, it's important because if you like what you're listening to and seeing and you want to find it again, it makes it easier for you to find it. And then also it makes it easier for other people to find it. So if you like us, like us.
Like put a ring on it, like us.
Yeah. Then like and subscribe, and it'll make us easier to find. Thanks for tuning in to Nourishing Body and Soul, the podcast. Before we wrap up, we just want to remind you that the information we share in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not intended for medical advice. While we hope you find our discussions helpful, we strongly recommend that you seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, exercise routine, or any other aspect of your health. We also want to make it clear that the host, guests, and producers of this podcast are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences that may result from the use of any information or suggestion discussed in this podcast. We care about your well-being, but we can't take responsibility for individual outcomes. By listening to this podcast, you agree to indemnify and hold harmless the hosts, guests, and producers of this podcast from and against any and all claims, damages, liabilities, costs, and expenses arising from your use of the information provided in this podcast. We're so grateful for your support, and we hope you keep listening and learning with us. Thanks.